I think this certainly does open up the floodgates all around the country now as each state looks to make gains that will benefit their own political party. I've been very clear that whether it's Republicans or Democrats attempting to politically gerrymander, that it's wrong. I believe it's corrupt, and it silences and takes away the voice of the people who are supposed to be the ones who decide our elections. I think it's really important that we have the most competitive seats possible. That is how you hold your representative accountable, and that is how you ensure that they actually come out and speak to you, the voters, about what they're doing, what they're not doing, how they vote, and why. And so I don't support what Texas is doing, and certainly, obviously, there's concern that they may try to do this again in New York. Now, in 2022, Kathy Hochul and the Democrats did gerrymander even after there was a ballot referendum in which New Yorkers made very clear they did not want political gerrymandering. We sued after they egregiously redrew my district, and we were able to get the entire map of the state of New York thrown out. And it was then a court-appointed independent master that drew the lines. And what happened when we actually had fair maps in New York? Republicans made significant gains, and the Democrats lost 2 of their incumbents. So I think that that was a lesson to Kathy Hochul and the Democrats. They tried to do the same thing again in 2024 when they did a switcheroo on the Court of Appeals and tried to remove the chief judge that had sided with us and then backfill that position with somebody who did not side with us. And basically that was very corrupt what Kathy Hochul did. They did win an opportunity to redraw, but because of the public outrage and the scrutiny nationally, they did not change the maps much in 2024. So here we are again, potential redistricting battle, but there would need to be a constitutional amendment, which would mean that it would have to pass this legislative session, next legislative session, and then go to the voters in a referendum. So the earliest they could potentially redraw these maps would be for 2028. But nonetheless, I think we will fight back and we will defeat them once again.
Right, and it's interesting, Congresswoman, because we often said here that the path to taking the House in 2024 did run through New York, because we know that there were a lot of those Republican seats that ultimately helped the GOP get to the majority. But just to put a finer point on this conversation about redistricting, are you confident that if this were to happen again, that same legal pathway would be there for you to protect against the efforts that could be targeting your own district?
Well, again, it would have to go to a public referendum, and I think we would actually win that once again. We did win it the first time around when they tried to do this, and then what they did was they just ignored the will of the people and jammed it through anyway, which is why we were able to sue successfully in court. What I would say to my fellow Republicans is that we have the opportunity here to win on merit, and that's the way elections should be. We've just delivered very significant tax relief for working Americans, for middle-class families, for senior citizens. 88% of seniors across the country are going to see their tax liability on Social Security erased when they do their refunds next year. The economy is doing well. We're seeing trillions of dollars in private investment. We're seeing a lot of good things that have happened, whether it's prices coming down, energy costs coming down, mortgage rates coming down. And I think that we need to make sure that we're going out and talking about these successes, because we're going to win on merit. We don't need to stoop to what the Democrats tried to do in New York, which is they could not win on merit in debate, which is why they redrew our maps or attempted to do so. So again, I think this opens up a slippery slope. I don't want to see it happening. And aside from that, it shouldn't be happening only once a decade after the census, which means the next redrawing of maps should be in 2032.
Congresswoman, when we talk about the question of winning on merits and on debate and on the issues, today we see, and in fact this hour, Vice President J.D. Vance joining some of your House Republican colleagues in Georgia to try to pitch the benefits of President Donald Trump's tax legislation, which you, of course, had a role in getting through the chamber. Why do you think there is the need to make this sales pitch to the American people? Have you detected any concern among your constituents? And is there an issue with the messaging itself from the party about what may be beneficial in the legislation?
I think there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of confusion. The Democrats have said one thing and the Republicans are saying another. And so I think it's important for Republicans to be on the offensive, because we are proud of this piece of legislation. It is the largest tax cut in history It is making sure that the child tax credit not only gets extended, but gets increased. We're helping workers, from tipped restaurant workers to Uber drivers to middle-class families like the ones I represent. State and local tax relief, significant for New York. They're getting hammered by the Democrats, whether it's property taxes or income taxes. This is going to give them relief. I think in some cases in my district, we'll see thousands of dollars in savings for families. And the senior deduction, 51 million seniors across America are going to get relief and keep their Social Security paycheck without the government taking tax dollars from them. So what I would say is that this thing's going to sell on its own. I have confidence that when people do their taxes in 2026, they will see the significant relief for the 2025 tax year. And you'll see the economy, again, continuing to grow. We're seeing GDP growth. We're seeing trillions of investment in private companies, domestic and foreign, expanding operations, expanding manufacturing facilities here. It seems every week, if not every couple of days, that President Trump is announcing a new company that is expanding their operations, particularly in the automotive sector, pharmaceutical, tech sector. This is really all good stuff for our economy. And I think come a year from now, when we're in the midterm elections, people will see the benefits, and they'll see that the fear-mongering that many of the Democrats were committing were simply fear-mongering, right? They'll see that the Medicaid cuts that they said were going to take place did not happen, that seniors, disabled, children with disabilities, all children, pregnant women, people below the federal poverty line will not have any of their benefits touched. They'll see and they're seeing it regularly, how those who are the fraudsters are getting prosecuted. And I think overall we'll be shown to be the truthful ones in this debate.
Well, and Congresswoman, Democrats are saying that they want to have some more say here, even though Republicans do hold both chambers of Congress. And I want to stick on this idea of the work of Congress, because we should say, for our radio listeners, you're joining us from world headquarters in New York. But when you get back here to Washington, there are going to be 14 working days before the continuing resolution expires. Are we going to just keep seeing continuing resolutions through the rest of the year, or are we at risk of a shutdown if Democrats say that they're not able to come to the table in a meaningful way?
I've been in Congress for 5 years, and I've been through this a number of times where we avoided a government shutdown, we avoided a debt default, and I think we're going to do that again. But we do need to see some bipartisan cooperation. I'm proud to be a member of the House Problem Solvers Caucus, that is made up of half Republicans, half Democrats, where we come together to work through these types of more difficult things. What makes the appropriations process different than reconciliation is that it needs to be bipartisan, because we need to have the 60 votes in the Senate. And so there's going to have to be Democrats and Republicans coming together to avoid a government shutdown. Now, whether that means we're going to have to do a continuing resolution, I imagine it will probably be a short-term continuing resolution. I don't want to see that. I would like to see the Republicans put forward a budget that reflects the priorities of the administration and the Republican-controlled Congress. That is what the American people voted for. But when we don't have the votes to do so, because you need the 60 votes in the Senate, it makes it more difficult. We'll probably see some changes, some additions it wouldn't be just a plain continuing resolution. There would have to be a little more to get Republicans on board and deliver for our constituents. So I think that we'll see how things play out, but I am confident that we will avert a government shutdown, just like we've always have since I've been there.
And Congresswoman, are you confident, in the 30 seconds we have left, that all Republicans will fall in line on a continuing resolution when it comes down to it?
I have confidence that they will not all fall in line. That I'm pretty sure of. And that happens with every continuing resolution. There's always a group of the Republicans that do not want to support a continuing resolution, or they've never voted for a continuing resolution and don't intend to do so now, which is all the more reason why this needs to be a bipartisan process. And I think that, I've supported the continuing resolutions. I think there may have been just one that I voted against for border, because the border was not secure. And I think that you're going to see a large majority of the Republicans support it and a small minority of the Democrats support it. That's probably how it would play out in my prediction.